McCarthy gave it order that America has to grow, has to America, and people have no saying whatsoever.
The works of Senator Joseph R. McCarthy and the FBI in reaction to the communist scare of the 1950s caused the unemployment of countless politicians, entertainers, and scientists. It's 1945, World War II has just ended, and Franklin Roosevelt is the President of the United States. There were expectations that America would be open, generous, and rewarding to all who had served in the war. Determination to say that the events that had taken place in Europe would never happen again. Instead, on the arrival of the soldiers, soon an overwhelming cloud hovered over everything. This cloud was communism. In 1950, communist power in the world was the dominant reality for the United States. As the strongest anti-communist country in the world, the problem we faced was to resist the Soviet Union without starting another war or universal destruction. Although allies during World War II, the Soviet Union's differentiating political systems prevented a mutual understanding. Much of this was because of Joseph Stalin, who used communism to reshape Russia and influenced an American Communist Party to form in 1919 in Chicago, Illinois. Coincidentally, another man named Joseph became a powerful force in the United States because of his overly dramatic reaction to communism. Senator Joseph R. McCarthy from Wisconsin in the early 1950s shaped the U.S. into an era of what became known as McCarthyism, accusing thousands of people of being communists and influencing many other organizations to create their own blacklists. The term McCarthyism was coined by Herbert Bloch, a cartoonist who used the term to show how much power this senator had over the government. It's said that McCarthy held two presidents captive, Harry S. Truman and Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Our nation may well die. Our nation may well die because of that 18 months deliberate delay. And I ask you, who caused it? Was it loyal Americans or was it traitors in our government?
Using fear, McCarthy was able to convince millions of Americans that communism was a huge underlying threat to the United States, and this is exactly what tore apart the entertainment industry. A book was put together called Red Channels by an organization called Counterattack. 151 people were named, and in the book you could find everything you ever wanted to know about writers and entertainers condemned for liberal impulses over the past 20 years. This created an atmosphere of mystery as the best people in the business were blacklisted. Red Channels influenced many others, even the armed forces, to show anti-communism videos to their employees.
Criticizing a communist, physical appearance counts for nothing. If he openly declares himself to be a communist, we take his word for it. If a person supports organizations which reflect communist teachings, or organizations labeled communist by the Department of Justice, she may be a communist. If a person defends the activities of communist nations while consistently attacking the domestic and foreign policy of the United States, she may be a communist. If a person does all these things over a period of time, he must be a communist.
To understand McCarthyism, one must understand the entertainment industry and African Americans at the time. Harlem, New York was the place to be, buzzing with the promise of bright futures and filled with many eager African American actors looking for jobs. One of these aspiring actors was Ossie Davis. Young ones in theater tried to fathom even as we followed, were pulled this way and that by the swirling currents of these new dimensions of the struggle which split us down the middle. Black revolutionaries fighting, just like the Russians, to liberate the workers and save the world against the black Burachis fighting, at the behest of rich white folks, to defeat the communist menace and save the world. I, for one, had no trouble identifying which side I was on. I was on the side with Paul Robeson and W.E.B. Du Bois. Following them became my assignment. More than ideology was at stake in the black community. Any form of art is a form of power. It has impact, it can affect change, it can not only move us, it makes us move. Ossie Davis.
There's an old man called the Mississippi. That's the old man that I'd like to be. What does he care if the world's got troubles? What does he care if the land ain't free?
Paul Robeson, also an actor, was a mentor and hero to those in the theater. He was beautiful, athletic, inspiring, and represented that top possibility and concern for the rest. He was a threat because he was extremely intelligent and had a lot of charisma, just like Martin Luther King Jr. He was a great figure in American literature, a law student, and because of all this, he had to be silenced. Organizations like House of Un-American Activities Committee and McCarthy knew that if he was silenced, others would be too, and that's exactly what they proceeded to do. He traveled to the Soviet Union because he believed that there was no discrimination there, so his passport was denied, and he was prevented from getting any jobs. In Russia, I felt for the first time like a full human being. No color prejudice like in Mississippi, no color prejudice like in Washington. It was the first time I felt like a human being. As an artist, I come to sing, but as a citizen, I will always speak for peace, and no one can silence me in this. Paul Robeson. Canada Lee, another African-American actor, was a huge icon. He had invaded Hollywood, playing non-stereotypical roles many African-Americans couldn't get. He tried to improve racial conditions, especially after he traveled to South Africa in 1951. But, just like Paul Robeson, he was cut down by the government and depression ended up destroying him. He slowly disappeared off the screen and was forced to become a shoe shiner on 42nd Street and Broadway. Many people believe he died of a broken heart. Almost as hard as it was for the blacklisted, this time period was extremely difficult for the families of the blacklisted. Kate Lardner was the daughter of Ring Lardner Jr., a successful screenwriter who was called to testify before the House of Un-American Activities Committee. One of the Hollywood 10, when asked about his membership with the Communist Party, he stated, "I could answer, but if I did, I would hate myself in the morning." This statement sent him to prison and made Kate's childhood a black one. Ring said that there were only minor differences between forcing a man to say what his opinions are and dictating what those opinions should be. "I wanted to kill myself," his wife declared. "I just couldn't tie in blacklist." For this family, as was true for many others, the blacklisting destroyed their funds and their lifestyles. Many were forced to move, and many began self-harm, looking for some sort of relief.
When he grew up, he met quality people in the university, you know, MIT and Harvard. Yeah, quality people. That you can mention Einstein, Oppenheimer. And they talk about physics and science, but nothing was mentioned about politics. 1953, I was practicing my piano. They knocked on the door and they just got in and go all over my house. Well, I didn't speak English.
Yeah.
So I was surprised. I was thinking that they wanted to rebuild the house or something. Yeah, I was very confused. But I felt good because they looked very nice, you know.
They looked professional.
But they went to investigate what kind of pictures I had, what kind of books. They took all my books down. I told my husband, what are the, I didn't know America. I thought
that was normal.
Well, perhaps that was a custom.
But of course it wasn't. James had become friends with Albert Einstein and James Oppenheimer through MIT and Harvard, and as he was very involved with physics and science, upon seeing James shake hands with Oppenheimer, the FBI assumed they were making some sort of communist plan. After they moved to Boulder in 1952, they received a call from the government.
My husband was not allowed to work, and they say, I'm very sorry that we cannot have you work anymore here because you have a background of reactionary friends. So that's why he became a piano tuner. He was a humanist. And then it happened that these people were in trouble with the government because of the times, and that was the whole ruin. That's it, nothing else. Before he died, he told me, keep going. Not because I am dead, I'm going to go. Before he died, keep going. Be active. Do what you're doing, grow, keep growing. That was his last words. I appreciate that very much.
McCarthy was able to persuade people that this blacklisting was justice, killing the careers and hopes of so many. But as Paul Robeson said, "As an artist I come to sing, but as a citizen I will always speak for peace, and no one can silence me in this."